Hello guys, welcome back to APST Action. We're back with another video, and today I'm gonna be predicting the TPS league for APST season 1. We're not gonna do the Open Cup as it already started. The group stages are on. 2 rounds have been played already. And also we'll have another video of predicting the Touch League. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna predict the regular season, and then we're gonna make the matchups of the playoffs, and then we'll predict the playoffs too, and we will predict who will be our winner of the APST season 1 league. So this video is about TPS. The next video will be about touch football. By the way, sponsor, please subscribe to Twins Hockey Thoughts. They upload videos about hockey, one of my friends. So if you like hockey and want to watch great hockey action, just subscribe to them and you can watch their videos. Okay, anyways, let's get started. So before starting, by the way, there are 11 teams in the APST TPS League. Here are all the teams. I'll give you a second to look at all of them. Okay, so these are the teams for TPS. And by the way, top 8 of these 11 teams will be moving on to the knockouts. To the playoffs. Top 8 go to the playoffs. 9th, 10th, and 11th are eliminated in the regular season. Okay, so let's start with the predictions. I'll be back in a minute and we'll start. Okay, we are back, and we are gonna be starting with the predictions. So, in the regular season, in my predictions, I have the Brazilians. I think they have great players, so the best roster in APST TPS. They have lots of great players, so they're active. They know how to work together. They're organized while they play the 3v3 game, and they have lots of great players. Also, the best goalkeeper in APST, Arthur. They have Outlaw, one of the best defenders in APST, if not the best. In the attacking end, we have Andrea, which is probably the best player in APST TPS. They have other great players like Fabcart, Adam, Phantom, and Dodge, and plenty of other decent players, so that could help them in case if these players can come. But they're very active, so I don't think they're gonna have a problem with long-term team. But Brazilians are the most stacked team by far in TPS. So the only team with a close enough level of players would be Portuguese, which I'll get to them later and their situation. But I got Brazilians coming in first in the league regular season by far. They could come like 20 points before the second place team. I'm telling you. The only problem for them is a great player, Adam. He's not being active anymore, but I don't think that will affect them in any bad way. It's just like one of their good players missing out. All of their other players are pretty active. They also have a great player that could play great midfield for them, Light. But Brazilians really stacked for TPS, and they will be a team that everyone else is scared of. Okay, now going to second. I have Prime Madrid. I'm putting Prime Madrid because they have great players like Cristiano, Levy, and Hernando. They're three great players that could play the game. When it's 2v2 plus a goalkeeper, that will be great for them because they will be the ones starting. But the only thing that worries me about Prime Madrid is when they're playing 3v3. I'm not trying to say that a Prime Madrid player is bad or anything, but like if they have Bacon in net, like he's still practicing the game, and if it's 3v3, they're gonna have to they might put Bacon in net because that's his position, but he barely knows how to keep. He just dives. I feel like they need a real goalkeeper because neither Hernando, Levy, or Cristiano are a goalkeeper, but one of them will have to play goalkeeper in the 2v2 game. And if they switch Bacon to player in the 3v3 game, they'll have another non-player as a goalkeeper, and Bacon won't really know what he's doing on the attacking end of the pitch. So that's my only worry for Prime Madrid. But other than that, I think they're good. They're active, great chemistry, great friendship between them. And Prime Madrid have great chemistry, and that will help them a lot. They practice a lot, and they're dedicated. They're really good. Okay, so Prime Madrid second for me. Okay, now third, I have Pro Dodge. They have a great player. They're a great owner, Dodge, and a great owner, Dodge. They have great players like they have a great player Atsuya too. They have a decent player Catch for the 2v2 game, and that's their 2v2 game. In the 3v3 game, they pay someone to be goalkeeper. My only problem for Pro Dodge is they need a keeper, and that's a problem for lots of teams. But I think Pro Dodge, they'll do really good in the season. The only time they might struggle is when Dodge doesn't come, because when Dodge doesn't come, I don't feel like Pro Dodge is good. Like Pro Dodge, they had a decent start to the season. First game in the Open Cup group stage away game versus the Brazilians, the first place predictions team. Pro Dodge lost 1-0 away, but they might have looked like the better side on that game, and they could have won. Just a field play for Dodge when he had to go net, and that's what affects Pro Dodge when Dodge isn't playing player or when he's not in the game. That's what affects Pro Dodge if he needs to play keeper or he doesn't show. And then like Pro Dodge, that was a good result, just 1-0 away. Pro Dodge could have tied it 0-0 or even won it 1-0. Like it's on the live. You could watch the game and you'll see what I'm saying. But now when their second game versus Chicago Bruins FC at home, Dodge didn't come. And then what happened? This should be an easy win, but they tied 3-3. The whole team relies on Dodge, not because they're bad, but Dodge is their captain, and like he could change the game differently, different how other players could do. And Brazilians have great coaching too, and Pro Dodge almost got a beat to it. which is crazy. Best coaching in the league for Brazilians. Anyways, fourth, I have German. In fourth. They have a few great players. They have Cam, Himi. Himi just needs to get more active and actually stop playing Roblox on Xbox so he could type and see when people are getting into games that playing on Xbox affects him badly. And they have a great goalkeeper, Duolingo. I think while they are at games, they could do really well. I just feel like they need a few more players, and they need to get a few more decent players in case if one of these players can't come. Since now it hasn't been much of a problem, they've been showing just one game, but yeah, it's not been a problem. They just need a little more players, and they could go up. Okay, fifth. This is where. So fifth. Of place, but this is where I have Portuguese. A really bad placement in the league for Portuguese for TPS, coming in fifth. They're like, along with, other than the Brazilians, so they're the best team. They have the best players other than Brazilians, so they have the second best team overall. But the problem is, like, they have plenty of players. So they have like 15 players. Brazilians have 30, but they have half, and that's still a plenty of a lot of players. But my problem is, like, most of their greater players, so they're not active. Only their owner, Ben, is active. Like, Portuguese, let me tell you. Okay, let me go say what they need to do first. Some people have warned Ben to do this, the owner of Portuguese, to go and scout great players from TPS and bring them to the league and sign them. And then they could go up to second. But, I'm just saying Portuguese could win the playoffs if they put up an insane level and their great players show to the playoff games. I just feel like in a long league, they won't do good if their players aren't active. Maybe this could change if their owner does something and goes and scouts great players and gets to them. He's been starting to do the job. He's starting with trades and transfers. So far, he didn't get one. It's been rejected as he's trying to get the better players. But the next step for him is to go and scout players. Now, the problem for Portuguese, the action, Okay, let me explain now. Their first game in the Open Cup group stage, away game versus German, they lost 3-2. I don't disrespect German. They're a really good team. And, okay, now let me say. So Portuguese, so they only had 2 players at the game, so they had to do via 2v3. And then Portuguese had to play one man down the whole game, and then German won 3-2. No disrespect to German, respect German. They're a great team, and I believe that maybe they wouldn't have lost even if it was a 3v3 game. But, it would have been a big difference for Portuguese if they showed. But they would have either tied or won with Tolly if he showed, or any other great player on their team. Now, this is the worst one of all. Last game, the second game, Portuguese versus Primetime. Portuguese are home. So at the game time, none of their players showed. And then that equals an auto forfeit, and Primetime got the win 3-0. And then 5 minutes later, their players are texting me, "I'm sorry I'm late, please don't do forfeit." And I'm saying, it's too bad you're late. And it's already done. Should have came on time for the game. So their problems is they need to get more active. They need a few more players that are decent and active, at least decent, or they're not going nowhere compared to the Brazilians. And lastly, they need to show on time to games, because this forfeit problem could be a problem for Portuguese all game long. Portuguese, a team that could be on the edge with the Brazilians for first right now, is now being predicted in fifth because all of these stupid problems so that they could solve easily. But right now it's been a tough situation of how all their players are inactive. Like, they just need to be more prepared, more ready, more on time, more active, and get a few more players that are decent and are really, really active, just in case if their other great players can't show, or these players could become their new starters if they're really good. And that would be the key move for Portuguese, but they're just starting that. These are my early predictions. I might do another predictions in November as the league starts early December. Late November, I could do another predictions for TPS and Touch. And maybe Portuguese could be up then if they do lots of these changes. Okay, now sixth. You guys might disagree, but sixth, I'm putting the Denmarkians. Okay, why I'm putting the Denmarkians in sixth. So, okay, let me explain. Like a month ago, I wouldn't put them in the top 8. I'd say they wouldn't make the playoffs if this was a month ago. But now, so let me explain. So like a month ago and before, they were getting inactive after being really active in the beginning of 2023. And now they're getting reactive again. They got a great player for Touch. Let me not talk about that right now. They got a new player, Ezekiel. He's just starting TPS. He's a Touch player, but they're all active, and I think they'll do good as a team. They just need Wilfil Sil to get a bit more active, and they just need a practice of the TPS game. Then a decent player for the Denmarkians. Doofus is also practicing and getting better. They also need a goalkeeper, but I think the Denmarkians, I don't know if their owner's going to do this or if he is or if he will or whatever. But if Denmarkians get a good goalkeeper that's really active and a great player that is really active too, and maybe another, and then it could be in 2v2 games, it could be the goalkeeper Den in the lineup and that other great player. But if it's 3v3, they might have a Doofus too. Doofus is practicing, maybe it could work, but in case it doesn't, Doofus could be the first sub in that situation, and Wilfil Sil could be the second sub. And then they could get another player that could be their first sub for 2v2 games, another great and could be a starter for 3v3 games. And then they would have their great goalkeeper, and also this player has to be active. And then, so they'll have their great goalkeeper that's really active. They'll have Den in the lineup. They'll have a decent, another great player that's really active. And they'll have another great player for 3v3 games, so that's also really active. These tiny, easy moves could give Denmarkians a title contending team for TPS. People don't see this, but I'm warning. If the Denmarkians do this, they could potentially win the TPS. But right now, they're far. But if they start, they won't be far enough. Okay, now 7. I have a surprise here. Surprise. Barca FC. Okay, before you guys don't know who Barca FC is, they are Pakistan FC. They rebranded yesterday into Barca FC and are now called the Barca FC with their brand. Okay, now Barca FC, like in the last 3 days of season 1 team applications to join the league, they entered with like 2-3 days left for Touch. And then I asked them if they wanted to be in TPS. They were like, what is TPS? And then I gave them the game link, and then they saw. And then with literally not really even knowing how to play, they said, sure, because they're dedicated and they know what they're going to do. Now, I'm putting Barca FC in 7th because they're dedicated. Something else, they have great chemistry. and they practice a lot. Every day I see them practicing TPS so they learn how to play, and they're currently learning slowly. I think in the beginning of the season they could struggle, lose a couple of games, but near to the end they could be winning versus big teams here, and that could give them a playoff spot in 7th here. And this is not because Barca's better than like a team behind them, but like just how they really care and their chemistry is good. They practice a lot. Like they might be awarded for the best chemistry team and the team that most cares and practices in APST. Okay, now 8th. The final team going to the playoffs. I have Chicago Bruins FC. Okay, now let me tell you the Bruins situation. So this is around a predicted place for the Bruins to be like 7th, 6th, or 8th. Bruins could even be predicted for 6th, but they're in 8th. So they have a great goalkeeper, MH in net. They have Lucas, who's getting better, not that good yet. He's starting to get decent. Near the end of the season, he might be a good player that could get them lots of goals. In the latest game versus Prodog, he scored a hat-trick and they tied 3-3. That was a big game for Prodog. They have Dynamo, who is really starting TPS. He's a touch player. And they have Alex. I'm worried that Alex might not show to a couple of games, but when he does show, Bruins have an amazing defender, Alex. So the back line would be Alex at defense, Lucas playing up for 2v2, and in goalkeeper would be MH. And for 3v3, they have Dynamo. I feel like Bruins could scout and use one more great player for their squad, but also in case if one of these players don't show up, they have Jackie on the bench, and they have Tyler, who's on loan on the Bruins from the Brazilians currently for 1 season. And the Bruins could do really good, but I'm just saying, like, their level isn't that high, but I feel like the Barca FC dedication could pass the good Chicago Bruins that are better than Barca. Okay, now the teams that aren't going to the playoffs. In 9th, I have Primetime. Okay, I'm putting Primetime in 9th. So they have one great player, C's. He's a great defender that could win primetime games, and they tied Prime Madrid 2-2 in an Open Cup game because of C's. Yeah. And they have Davi. Davi really needs to practice because he's missing open nets, but he also scored a goal. But, yeah. And Primetime, they just really need a goalkeeper. They have Grandpa who could also play. Grandpa knows how to goalkeeper. He has an old account. I don't know what happened, but like if he gets to level 10, he's level 8 on his account. If he gets level 10, he could be an amazing goalkeeper in TPS for Primetime. Primetime just need to scout or trade for another TPS player or get any player that could play them to play for them in 3v3 games, or they have a kind of a problem of playing via 2v3. But like Primetime, I feel like they could they could go up, like they could be traded with the Denmarkians, like not the Denmarkians come in 9th, but Primetime could be in 6th if they do really great, work their butts off, make these good manager moves and play the way they want to. They could do really good and they could surprise a lot of people. Primetime, the touch team in TPS. Okay, now let's go 10th. This team here frustrates me. In 10th, the Edmonton Red Stars FC, which is a really bad place for them. They could be favored to be in 6th or 5th right now. This place frustrates me and everybody else, and I'm sure if the Red Stars players or their owner sees this, they'll also be pretty frustrated. Okay, so the Red Stars, so they have a great player. They have Killian, and they have a decent player, Frost. Frost might have to play goalkeeper. He's decent, not that good, but he's decent. I just feel like Red Stars, so they need a goalkeeper. And in the first first two games, in the first game for them, Killian did not show. So they had to play 1v2 versus Cosmos, and they still won. But this is what frustrates me. Once the league begins, auto forfeit if there's only one player here. Yeah, each team needs at least 2 players here. So my worry is Red Stars could forfeit a lot. And their owner isn't doing anything about it. Like, he's playing the game being good, but he's not acting like an owner. He's not trying to get players. He's just playing the game. Like, he needs to go scout players. So they could at least have enough players in game time. Like, Red Stars, if, for example, in a 3v3 game, they could literally play 1v3. Do you see how a big difference that is? It's a big difference. Like, they could lose massively like this. Even versus Cosmos, which they beat. If Cosmos had their best players in the game, Red Stars are in trouble. And Red Stars, if they do these owner moves, I could potentially see them going in 5th or 6th in the playoffs. But right now, as it stands, I'm gonna have to put them in 2nd last, unless their owner does something really soon. Okay, now lastly, we have Dallas Cosmos FC. I'm worried about them, but I'm not in the same time. I feel like this is a team that could upset into the playoffs, and a team that could go dead last, and they could lose almost every single game in the season. They could either go really good going into like the 5th, 6th zone in the playoffs, or doing really, really terrible. So, what worries me is, so they have a decent player. They have TPS Paolo Maldini. They have Henry Jr., but they have bad time zones. So when their game is late, they could only play with Stars, which he's not that good yet, but he's getting good. Now, this is what concerns me the most about them. Even though Stars, he's the owner of Cosmos, even though his team is in this situation, he's not doing anything about it. He's just waiting for the next game, playing. He's not even practicing to get better. It's like he doesn't really care about his team. And he's not going to trade for players. He's not really even checking the league group to see like what trades, transfers, what players are in the transfer loan list. Like, he's not even supporting these trades things, and that's why I have Cosmos in last. Like, they need Stars needs to also scout a few more players with the good time zone, Eastern time. But like, I don't know what their owner is doing at all. Like, it's completely messed up. Like, if he actually does something about it, Cosmos could turn in really well. As I said, this could either do really good if he does something, or it could stay as the way it is. And okay, so these are it for my regular season predictions. First Brazilian, second prime. Okay, I'm not going to re-say it because it's right here. Okay, now in the playoffs, how it works is it's a best of 7 game series. Game 1 and so in the quarterfinals, which is plus round 1, it's the team that finished first in the regular season versus the 8th, 2nd versus 7th, 3rd versus 6th, and 4th versus 5th. Now, the team that got better is home game 1 to game 5 if needed, and game 7 if needed. The away team is home game 3, game 4, game 6 if needed. Okay, now let's put in the matchup. So, the 4th and 5th team, we have the games in the... Okay, let's put playoffs. Now quarterfinals. Now games will be... Well, let me put here best of 7 series. Okay, so again, the first series would be German. So a series German versus Portuguese. So the 4th versus 5th. The 3rd versus 6th. Prododge versus Denmarkians. The 2nd versus 7th. Prime Madrid and Barca FC. And then lastly, the 1st versus 8th, we have Brazilians versus Chicago Bruins FC. Okay, now let's start with German versus Portuguese. So start. This is a really tight matchup if it happens. German, they have Cam, but in the playoffs, I feel like German will have to rely on Cam to carry this team and score lots and lots, especially in a best-of-7 game series. Best-of-7 could slow down Portuguese. If it was one game and they all showed, they could destroy German, but it's best-of-7. So this series could be fairly tight. But I feel like Portuguese, I got them doing really bad in the regular season, but I told you, they have the second best team of level. And I think in the playoffs, so they have this advantage because it's short, not long term like the regular season. Regular season, I predicted them really bad because it was long term and they wouldn't really, unless their coach does something. Okay, now, and German, they'll need a few more scouting players for the playoffs too. But for this year's predictions, I'm gonna say that sometimes Portuguese players could show some, and mostly Germans, but some in the series Portuguese will show. And these games, especially short term, and the time if they're active in this time of the playoffs, they could win. And how the playoffs is, it's really short, so Portuguese have an advantage based on their problem. Anyways, in this series it could be tight, but I'm gonna say Portuguese win the series 4-2 and advance to the semis. So Portuguese win the series 4-2 versus German, and they will advance to the semis. Okay, Pro Dodge versus Denmarkians. Now, Pro Dodge, if Dodge doesn't show, the teams are lying him. Dodge is on his entire team's back. His entire team is on Dodge's back right now. And if he doesn't show, Denmarkians could win. But if the Denmarkians do the stuff that the trade, but I'm doing this base stuff now, but if they do this, they could potentially win the series versus Pro Dodge if the regular season happens like this. But right now, it's not like that. Denmarkians need more practice, more action, but I think Denmarkians are on the right path and they will work better right now. But Pro Dodge, great action with Fubuki Atsuya. And a problem is if there's Sunday games, Atsuya, that will be Monday for him, in a midnight, or I don't know. It may be in the morning, but people have school or work that time. So it could be a problem. And this is why I'm saying Denmarkians could win a few games in this series. And I think it could be tight because of Dodge maybe not showing, or maybe Atsuya not showing. And they would have they would need to find someone else or another player that they would sign. And maybe they would play one man down for a few games, and I don't think that would work as Catch is a striker. You can't play all around bat stamina too. So I'm gonna say this series will turn out tight, but I'm gonna say Pro Dodge barely win the series. I'm gonna say Pro Dodge win the series 4-3 and advance to the semis. Pro Dodge could destroy Denmarkians, but it's just because of these extra problems that I'm saying it will go to 7 games. Okay. Now we have Prime Madrid versus Barca FC. Now I'm going to say Barca FC, they might be great by then. Prime Madrid, still great, and they're also going on the right path. But I'm going to say Barca, they're going to be good. And they could put up a good fight, but I'm going to say I don't think they will be enough for Prime Madrid, and I think Prime Madrid will win this series. Okay, now before saying, right now it would be an easy 4-0 sweep for Prime Madrid. But on the path that Barca are going, I'm going to say they could win a few games in this series. And I'm going to say Prime Madrid win this series 4-2 as they will go on to the semis. Now, the final series, Brazilians and the Chicago Bruins. They have played a friendly match once ever, 3v3 plus a goalkeeper. And the Brazilians destroyed them, a 9-2 win. And assume they will be versing in the Open Cup, which will give us more basis of how this game would be. But I think the Chicago Bruins are no match for the Brazilians. They have a good goalkeeper. That's the only way that they could stop them. Good defensive, like Alex, Dinamo, and Lucas show for their strongest line, or Tyler instead of Dinamo. I don't know. Dinamo's practicing and getting decent. But like Bruins, that's the only way that maybe they could maybe win a game versus the Brazilians. I think that Brazilians, they have really good talent, and I don't think the Bruins could fight that hard for it. Only if their best players, as I just said, I just named them, that is the only reason they could go. Brazilians, they have great coaching, one of the best players in the league, best coaching in the league, and I think they're unstoppable in this series. And I think they're unstoppable in this series, and I'm going to say Brazilians win the series 4-1 as they advance to the semifinals. And now let's put the semifinals games, which would be Prime Madrid versus Prodage and Brazilians versus Portuguese. Okay, now let's start with Prime Madrid versus Prodage. In a playoff series, I think Prodage could win. But in a season in league, Prime Madrid would win because of their activity. Now, Prodage almost lost to Denmarkians with home field advantage 4-3 because of their problems, which I named. And this could literally make them lose easily to Prime Madrid. But if they could show, they could beat Prime Madrid. And Prime Madrid have home advantage. And I'm going to say this is a really tight match. Prime Madrid also need better problems finding a goalkeeper. I'm going to say this is really tight. Really, really, really tight. It might go to penalty shootout in Game 7. But if it goes to penalty shootout, I'm going to have to say Prodage win it in 7. As Prodage win this series 4-3. Wait, I said if it goes to penalty shootout in Game 7. Now going back to their problems, I think Prodage will max lose 2 games, 2-0. And other than that, if all of their actions are probably 4-2. Yeah, so according to this, it would be Game 7, Prime Madrid may be winning. And I think if it should go down to Game 7, it could go really tight like that. But I don't think I'm going to see the rivalry series in the final. I think the time zone for Atsuya and Dodge maybe not showing could affect Prodage in some ways. And I'm going to say Prime Madrid win the series 4-2 because of it. If they all showed every game, Prodage would win the series 4-1 or 4-2. But I'm going to say Prime Madrid 4-2 as they will advance to the final. Now, a big match of the two best teams in APST versus Brazilians and Portuguese. Now, Portuguese, now they're in full form as it's to the playoffs. I doubt that any of their players would miss a game. Brazilians versus Portuguese. Okay, the history of Portuguese while having friendly matches versus Portuguese was really tough. But it was the problems of, so the first game that they played twice friendly matches ever. Once was in January, Brazilians won 4-1, and once in February actually. And Brazilians slapped Portuguese, winning easily 7-0. But only one player showed, which what we talked about, and what might make them lose if they don't do it. But okay, now I think if they all are shown, this could be a really tight series. It could go down to 7. In terms of penalties, Brazilians could do a little bit better. But I think this would be a really tight game. I think it could be low scoring on the Portuguese end, as a great defense from Outlaw could easily stop Portuguese, and it could also stop, and Arthur could also stop them in case he's the best goalkeeper in APST. He could stop them in case if they get past Outlaw once, which is unlikely. Okay, and on the Brazilian side, I feel like if Portuguese don't, they have a goalkeeper. Their lineup would be goalkeeper, Ben, Firmino, and Tolly. They just need a true defender like Outlaw that could stop their attackers, so like Dodge and Phantom, and they could win the series. But I'm gonna say this series is and that could also stop someone like Andrea and Fab. Okay, and Light too, which is the attacking end. But I'm gonna say that Brazilians will go on to the final and win this series 4-2 with both teams with full power active. Now the finals. Brazilians versus Prime Madrid. These teams have versed in a friendly match once ever, and Brazilians won 3-0. It was a 2v2 plus a goalkeeper. Brazilians had Arthur in net, Outlaw playing defense, and Skiller playing up, which was bad, but Brazilians got rid of Skiller for being selfish and not passing the ball at all, taking just long shots as he was playing. But I mean selfish as a teammate too, not on the field but off the field. And that could help the Brazilians with chemistry. And now Prime Madrid, they had Hernando, Levy, and Cristiano. The same 2v2 lineup right now, but it will be 3v3. They'll add a better player if they get one, and they'll have Bacon if they don't. Brazilians, so they could have they have Arthur Net. They could have Outlaw on defense, attacking. They could have Andrea and Fabcart, or they could have Andrea and Light, or they could have Light and Fabcart, or they could have Dodge and Phantom. 4 lines, so that could make the Brazilians win. But I don't feel like Prime Madrid could win versus Brazilians that easy. Like, I feel like Brazilians would, in my predictions, Brazilians would beat Portuguese in 6 in the semis. And I don't think Prime Madrid would do better than Portuguese in a series versus them. The team that would do best versus Brazilians in a series would be Portuguese or Pro Roger, not Madrid. But still, I'm going to say the series goes down to 6. And in my predictions, Brazilians will win the TPS Season 1 APST Championship, winning the series 4-2 versus Prime Madrid. And I'm going to say Brazilians win the TPS APST Season 1 season. And these are my TPS predictions. So now, please, if you haven't, share and subscribe. And also, I recommend you to click on the notification bell in case if you don't know in an upcoming live for games, you could click it and then it could give you notifications. And thank you for watching. Soon we'll be back with our touch predictions. See you guys later. Peace.